Hey, and welcome to the broadcast, everybody. Got Coin Mac here, and the one, the only, Michael Harris. We're gonna have a good show for you tonight. We're gonna talk about Cleopatra because that's been the thing that's really been trending lately, and then we're gonna talk about the NYC nurse practitioner. I got it wrong first. It wasn't nurse; it was nurse practitioner, and her being accosted by 5 gentlemen over a bike. And then we're gonna talk about the John Durham report later on at the end. But first, let's check out that cool intro.
Welcome to the Hooch, where the only place more messed up than your host is the barracks on a Friday night or the VA. So get ready to stand by for your weekly dose of toilet humor and shenanigans from your fellow veterans, Coy Mac and Michael Grizzled Grunt Harris.
So yeah, it's been a fun week, I think, for the most part.
Oh shit!
He's playing us as we're going live. That's cool. And no, this whole business with Cleopatra has definitely been one of those things that have been really annoying me today.
Oh yeah,
and
we talked about this weeks right before it even came out. We kind of alluded to this document, but we got some juicy stuff for you guys. So you guys make sure you listen and tune in because it's gonna get good.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting everybody for them to come in as we go. But to get this show started, I wanted to keep the process of starting it off light with showing us some videos that I find on TikTok or things that are really dumb, so I can share with Michael and the rest of you. These next couple of ones, next two, are gonna make you pucker. I know it did for me. So check this one out.
Tiger shark! Tiger shark ran me.
Tiger shark! This shit is so insane, man.
Tiger shark! Tiger.
Could you imagine having that happen to you, dude? Like, just having this crazy tiger shark go at you when you're out in the ocean.
And that's one of the reasons I'm terrified of the ocean.
I would imagine. Yeah,
that's like, it's not that what were you trying to say? I can't swim. I can swim.
No, I didn't say that. I did not say that.
What I'm saying is that the ocean,
that is a stereotype and a very offensive. You can't say black people can't swim.
Hey, listen, yeah, we can't say that. Okay,
you cannot say that. Now, I can tell you anecdotal evidence from being in the Marines of swim call and some very melanated brothers that had struggles with the instructors to float in the water properly. So, I'm not saying they can't swim. I'm saying they had troubles. They had troubles.
I can attest to that. But coming from California, and most Californians, we learn to swim at a very young age. But surfing, I'm terrified of the ocean just for stuff like that.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. That's one of my biggest fears. Is like, you ever see those like videos or those movies where people are like stuck on a raft and they're out in the middle of the ocean and they have nowhere to go and they're just floating around. I'm terrified of that. Or remember that one movie where when they went scuba diving was that couple and the boat ended up leaving them and they were just treading water.
Treading water for that entire time. Yeah, no,
and they ended up dying, but the sharks were nibbling at them. I'm terrified of that.
I've got like my secret fear has always been the fact that, like, if you ever been in a creek that's really kind of murky, right? And like, I love diving. I like going into water, but like growing up in the Ozarks and being in like places that have kind of murky water, like my biggest fear was coming up on something that was really big and not knowing it was there and just like swimming down. I'm having fun. And all of a sudden just giant dead eyes right in my face. Like that freaks me out. That feeling of finding that's the thing that gets me. The ocean's fine. It's clear. I can see. But murky water, that'll do it to you every time.
I don't know, man. The ocean. I mean, there's parts of the ocean. The waters are so big. There's parts that we haven't even been to or can get to.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Can you imagine what's down there? And if you believe in the Bible, the Great Flood, that means most things in the ocean survived thousands and thousands and thousands of years of evolution or whatever.
Yep.
Just been sitting down there.
Just sitting there waiting.
But I'm afraid that one of those things you're just going to get curious. Let me see what the world looks like. And I'm out there on a freaking canoe.
Trying my best to survive, and then that's what happens.
And this thing stands up.
No, so that's a new one, fear unlocked for a lot of people. I think getting in the ocean and then just like being randomly attacked by something that'll make your butthole pucker. But there's another one that'll do the exact same thing for you. Coming from the mortarman side, I found this video this week that I thought was really really funny that I wanted to share with everybody. So check this out.
Hey, you're forward. Don't be fucking scared. You'll be all right. Pull out.
Okay.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, get away from the gun. Get away from the gun.
Do it again. Yeah. So they managed to save it, but
was that boot or basic or was that?
I don't know where the video's from. I don't know where it comes to, but they're using 120s, and you see how deep that plate is into the ground.
Yes.
That is an accident waiting to happen. I don't understand why their mortar team let it get that deep into the ground without changing position, because that is unacceptable from a mortar stand side, because like you can only get it so deep before it starts affecting accuracy. But then like the fact that that's just dangerous, right? Because as you saw, this dude was like hanging up on there like, oh God, and he can't actually put it in.
That would have been bad.
No, just no.
I thought it was like an overheated tube or something at first. I was like, oh, the tube must be overheating, and they tried to back off and they couldn't. But now I know.
No, that's because, like I said, they let the base plate go too far into the ground. Like it being that deep, there's no reason for that. They should have moved that position. Like, even if it was just next to it, it's like having it that deep into the ground isn't going to help you at all. Like, unless it's a mortar pit, which that is not a pit. That's literally a hole created from putting too many damn rounds in the tube and out. So,
you know where my mind was going when you kept saying that deep. I'm just like, well,
it's going that deep. Balls deep. That's what it is, sir. Balls
not
deep.
that. How deep? That deep.
But I've seen some other ones where they've almost gotten their hands taken off because they didn't move it fast enough. That those ones will definitely do it. But the worst one is when it goes in and then it stays there because it's like, oh shit.
How do you clear that?
You kick it.
You kick it.
Literally, you kick it. Like, if
isn't
you
a
don't
fire
know,
pin already?
No. No, because it's like what'll usually happen if it gets stuck? It's stuck in the tube. It didn't actually go, so you don't know if it's a dud yet, right? So maybe it's hanging fire, right? Like it's not hung fire. Like, I forgot the term, but anyway, if it's just stuck in the tube, you have to kick it and then high, medium, and low to see where the round is. And if it doesn't go off or come out, then you have to turn it out slowly and catch it with your hands, and then carry it
off.
Yeah,
like explode or shoot up.
Yeah, no, one of the two. It's going to do one of those things. So somebody has to go kick it.
Hey,
clear everybody out of the way.
Get that.
Go kick that. You know that thing with the high explosives in it? Go kick it.
Who's
yeah,
the youngest
that's
one?
Exactly it.
Who's the youngest private? You? All right, come on, guys.
Who's the newest?
Yeah,
go over
you
there
guys
and kick
can
it.
tell I wasn't a mortarman. You know, I was an infantryman, but I was a ground pounder. I wasn't no dang mortarman. I didn't have to worry about that craziness.
I did mortars, and so like you kick it, and then you have to turn it 90 degrees, and then when you're at 90 degrees, then you have to slowly lower it, and then hopefully it slides out properly so you can catch it, and then take it to a dump and drop it in a hole and run away until they can dispose of it later. But yeah, that's basically how you handle that. So mortars are fun until something like that happens, and you'll have a misfire.
And you guys never got hazardous duty pay or anything?
No.
For your job?
No, man. Like the worst thing, the video that the intro has is me in Afghanistan, and I was in front of the gun, because we were in a hurry, and we actually had to do a 180 from where our firing position was, so we had to turn all the way around. And the gun's normally not supposed to be there, and I got in front of it too much, and I like right at the horizontal level where the freaking round comes out and just blasted my eardrum right there. That was fun.
Yeah, I mean, even the handhelds, man, they got a lot of kick to them too. They got a lot of kick to them. So I can imagine those 120s, man, just boom.
120s are no joke, man. They will kick the shit out of everything for sure. But it's good though. It's good. I mean, I'm glad that we have those on our side.
It is.
For
It's
sure.
really good to see it in action.
But Marines usually don't have them. We had them in Afghanistan just because of the Army giving them to us. But originally, at least when I was in, they didn't have them. I don't know about now if they've actually implemented the 120s or not. But it was always 81s and 60s. That was it. But so what? There's a good video I found from Vet TV. From some other sergeant in the Marine Corps, and they are on an expedition to find something that all men have been trying to find. It's brilliant, by the way. Let's check it out. Let's see what he's after.
We're out here, we're trying to look for the female orgasm, and right now we're coming up short. We've been searching for 72 days straight. We lost 3 grown men with families.
You're trying to find the female orgasm.
Hey, finding that thing is like hit or miss.
Oh God, I don't believe that. I think it comes down to the partners for sure.
Well, well, you're right, and you are right, and it does come down to the amount of attraction. I mean, if you're if you feel attraction down to your soul and you are super attracted to somebody, that orgasm is going to hit hard. But if you're not, if it's just one of those, hey, what's up? One night stands, you better get yours because I'm going to get mine. This is a race to who gets there first. So, that was good, man. Typical vet.
Yeah,
veteran humor.
I love finding good things on the internet because like the world is full of doom and gloom, and having these like opening segments of like just funny videos that you find and sharing with the rest of you is what makes it all worth it. Now this next one is really good because it's the oh man, I don't know if Michael's seen this one yet, but it should be fun. Let's check it out.
You don't have to do this. I feel like I do. We're just baiting you. Let's just get this over with. Okay, so this is a black person. Here we go. This is a white black person. Okay, nerdy? Yeah, kinda. You could have a black person doctor who would technically be considered nerdy, smart, but wouldn't be considered white black. Okay, so what would make the black doctor a white black doctor? She's super entitled, has a really good life, but makes you feel like her life is shitty and it's your problem. Meghan Markle?
Let's
try something else. I want you to think of one white person that belongs to another group, one that we don't really claim. Eminem. Exactly, yes. Why? I don't know, he's kind of black-white, right? Okay, good, now you're getting it. Now let's use that logic in reverse. Who's somebody that's white-black, somebody that black people don't really claim? Jaden Smith. You got it. He's not a basketball player or a rapper, right? You don't got it.
So white black person. White black person and a black white person. Man.
I know the feeling. I can relate to that video because I get that all the time. They're like,
right. I think that's
you're
what
a white
think.
Black person. I'm like, what does that even mean? Well, you don't act, you don't act, I'm like, no, I don't know. You don't
act hood enough. You don't act
walking
enough.
around saying, yo, dog, what up, cud? Blood. Come on,
like, what does it mean to be black? It's like, well, you're not hood enough. Like that's what it is.
Human. I'm me. This is the way I was raised to be.
You would think, though. I don't know, man. It's one of those spectrum.
Corey,
yeah, all black and white people have to act the same. We have to put no seasoning on our chicken for white people ever. Like they do not put seasoning ever.
There shouldn't even be no seasoning sold in the suburbs.
The only seasoning you get is mayonnaise. Mayonnaise is it. That's all you get for seasoning.
Yeah, that's it.
But we don't talk about the Cajuns, like the white Cajuns. Nah, they don't. They're not included in the white people.
They're
the black white people.
Yeah, you got black people down there, and they call them black rednecks.
Mm-hmm.
They're all them folk get down there get along just fine because they all live the same. They all do the same. They all eat the same. Yeah. You only start seeing all this white people and black people. You don't, and closer to bigger cities. You don't see that out in the sticks too much.
Nope, you wouldn't. Yeah, the Cajuns and the white the white ones and the black ones get along pretty well because they have a shared culture for sure. That's also brings up my next video that I want to get before we get into the clean Cleopatra stuff is this guy. I'm not even gonna do an introduction. You just need to listen to this.
I paid $27 for some chicken. I think that's entirely too much. We are living in a capitalistic nightmare. It's time to eat the rich for lunch.
Definitely Antifa.
It's like, okay, can you guess what his politics are based off of that song? I don't know. It's really hard to decide.
Socialist? Maybe.
Yeah, I would definitely see that he's definitely on the left side of things. I think he
pretty much.
No, I mean, I don't agree with the whole capitalistic nightmare, but we're definitely living in a nightmare of corny capitalist cronyism, like that whole social. We're living under a socialist corporatist nightmare. That's what you should call it, right? Because we have these companies that get too big to fail, and then we bail them out with money every time they mess up. That's not real capitalism. That's socialist policies for socialist. What was it? It's corporate socialism. Yeah, there you go. Corporate socialism. That's the right word for it.
You know, those policies help out the rich. They steal from the poor to help the rich, to keep the rich rich. It's not your average person down here that owns a mom and pop shop making money. That's capitalism. You know what I mean? It's the rich, and it's not all the rich, man. It's not everyone. It's these big guys who are backdooring everything. I mean, you look at the pandemic when it first happened. You know, all the mom and pop stores are closed, all this, and all these big corporations continue to make money. That's crony. Like, what's the word you use? Crony socialism or socialism?
Crony capitalism is what they call it. Yeah, crony capitalism. But when every time the banks and the corporations get bailed out by big daddy government, like that's socialism. That's not capitalism. Because if it was true capitalism, they'd let them fail, right? Like. That is what capitalism is. You take risks, you make money, and if you mess up, you lose it all. That's what it is, right? If we have a free market society, and if somebody messes up, somebody else is there to fill the hole. That is what true capitalism is, right? I give you something that you want, and I get money in return, right? That's how it works. If you make a bad product, then you fail. Right? If you make bad decisions and poor policies and poor investments, then you fail and lose your hat. I'm sorry. That's just the way it's supposed to work. Not for us, the taxpayers, to bail you out every time you mess up. Right? So that's what the populist left and right get along with, is that we're not for corporations. As I said, like, let the left tax the corporations. Just let them do it, right? Because they will stop all this woke propaganda bullshit if they don't have the Republicans blocking their tax increases every single time. That's the only reason they'll apply the left policies as long as they get their right tax cuts, right? That's all they care about. They don't care about any of your other things. They will sell you crap to you, but then use the left as a way to get more money without any of the risks. So it's like, no, let them tax them. Just let the corporations get taxed. Like, let them have it.
Yeah, all that money they get from the government is worth nothing. Just like all the money we have, it's worth nothing. It's monopoly money. It's just a way to keep us in control. They know it's not worth anything, but how can you control people that are still asleep that think money's worth something? Our money, it's not worth anything.
No.
So yeah, give it to them. It's paper. Here, take it.
Let them have the fiat currency. They'll be just fine, man.
We don't care.
They can have it.
You can have it, because when it goes kaput, all that money you got from the government is going to be just as useless as ours, and you're going to have tons of it.
And speaking of corporatism with this whole bit, we have to bring up the Cleopatra stuff, because that is really, really kind of where the culture war and everything meets in. And right now, under Rotten Tomatoes, Cleopatra has a 15% critic score and a audience score of 3. 3%. Like, that is atrocious, my friends. Absolutely atrocious.
That audience score has been going from it started out 1%.
Yeah, it did start it out, but now we have like 10,000.
Yeah, that was at only 3%.
Ratings.
And the thing with this Cleopatra movie, I remember when it was first talked about a couple weeks ago, when I first heard about it, and we discussed this, Coy and I and Marlon and Jay. We actually discussed this, and at the end of the show, we said it would flop.
Yep.
And it flopped.
I knew it was going to.
Yep. Everyone
knew
knew.
it was
We all knew it was going to flop. Go woke, go broke. What we got here?
It's funny because like these are some of the reviews, like some of the quotes from the critics. It's like it's a patchy sub Game of Thrones cosplay interwoven with academics you've never heard of. That's one of the best ones there, man. I love that one.
That's a great
It's too
one.
soapy. It's too soapy for a serious history fans, and it's not enough of a soap for viewers who like juicy historical dramas. Right. I absolutely agree with that one because it's dumb. It's really dumb.
I mean, they should have made it like we said earlier, a fictional. You know, this is a fictional film. I think a lot more people would have bought into it. There would have still been those critics, because if you're using a historical character, even though parts of it could be considered fiction, you would still have to have some truth in there also. Because no one would watch. They'd be like, that was total fictional. But they try to portray Cleopatra as like this warrior queen and wielding a sword and fighting people and holding swords to people. They try to say she was a scientist, just all this stuff. And everyone was like, no, she wasn't. She was a tactician. She was smart, and she used her looks and her beauty to get what she wanted. But the biggest issue is how they portrayed her.
Yeah, no,
the Afrocentrics took it over.
The Afrocentrics, that was the big thing, is that this whole series was supposed to be about African queens. Jada Pinkett Smith wanted to do an entire series on African queens, but as some people have pointed out, they couldn't find any well-known African queens, that they had to blackwash a Greek Macedonian descent queen to being black, which is set off Egypt, obviously, from the title of the show today. We're talking about that, is that Egypt is suing Netflix for about, what was it? $2 billion.
Woo!
To be. Right? A team of Egyptian lawyers and archaeologists is calling for legal action against the streaming platform Netflix, demanding a monetary compensation of $2 billion for falsely depicting the image of Cleopatra in their recent released documentary film, Queen Cleopatra.
Egypt. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I'll finish it.
But here's the issue. So you have a lot of people who don't know basic like geography and stuff, and the basic, demographics of nations and countries and everything. They automatically thought, in a lot of these people's minds, that because Egypt is part of Africa, everyone in Egypt is black, which is not true.
Is African. It's now
or African, or let's say
African. So let's talk about that for a second before we move on. There is like you said, the Afrocentric notion that everything in Africa belongs to Africans, and it's not true, because up until a certain point in history, sub-Saharan Africa was completely isolated from those that lived in the northern part of Africa and on to the Mediterranean, right? There were some crossovers in certain places, but for the most part, anything below the Sahara wasn't getting crossed until technology was advanced enough that they could actually do that, to make that journey, right? So North Africans are a lot different than South Africans, right? Anything below sub-Saharan. That's why we say sub-Saharan Africa, is because of that line that goes across Africa, right? So there are those of Nubian descent, which is closer to Egypt, to the south, that is closely related to that section of Africa, but it's not anything below sub-Saharan is different. So that's where a lot of the Afrocentrics come in, is they're bringing in the West African things, but they're not they're trying to take over North Africa when it's more of South Africa that belongs to them, and that mindset, which is really really sad.
And just historical facts would, if they actually read a book,
Read about
it's plain and simple. Cleopatra,
yeah,
was not black.
no,
She
not one bit.
was from Africa, but her parents were Greek and Macedonian. She is related to Alexander the Great.
Yep.
I forget what he is to her, like an uncle.
She's a descendant because
she's the daughter of, I think, Alexander the Great's son. Well, she's within that lineage. Alexander the Great is historical facts: blonde hair, pale skin. Yep. You know what I mean? So just in their mind, I guess, and they just, like you said, automatically assume Africa, they're black. And African, you can be white and be African. You can be whatever. I'm talking about the skin color as they like to put on this. Oh, they're from Africa? Oh, they're black. That's not right, because Africa is like America. It's a melting pot. There's so many different colors and races there. But to assume that just because they come from that country, they're this, was just historically wrong. And that's where that's where everyone's upset at. And they said even in the movies, there was a lot of her and Caesar, and how, I know her and Caesar had a love affair. Caesar gave her Egypt, and then she went to Greece, or I'm sorry, she went to Rome, stayed in Rome. Caesar died. Then she came back to Egypt. So,
and then she gave birth to a child, which is assumed to be Caesar's, which she named Caesarion, which they assumed to be Caesar's as well. There's a lot of good history there, but like I said, if they would have just made this a drama, it would have been better, and nobody would have complained about this. So, the Egyptian lawyer, part of the case's legal team, has filed a lawsuit before the administrative court of the state council and compelled the Egyptian government, represented by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, to take up all diplomatic measures and communicate with the relevant international organizations to ban the recent documentary. So they're actually trying to get rid of it entirely too. So they're trying to ban the documentary in other places.
I heard someone call this a Slay Queen movie.
A Slay Queen.
You know how they go Slay Queen?
Like, what was it? That was the last one, The Woman King, that one.
And that was historically incorrect also.
It was historically incorrect, but it was a drama. Yeah.
I mean, look, if you want to change history, I wouldn't have been mad, right? I wouldn't have been upset at none of these movies if they would have just kept it historically correct. Like from the beginning to the end. So what do you change? Skin color is irrelevant. But historical facts within there have to be correct. You can't.
The story has to be accurate, right?
Accurate.
It's like showing Abe Lincoln without getting shot at the end of the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like we know that's not true. We know he got shot. Like, he can't be alive at the end of the movie. He has to die.
Yeah. I was going to say John Wilkes Booth, because I was getting off track. But what did that lady? What did the lady with the PhD say? The light-skinned PhD, the lady in the documentary, she said, "I know Cleopatra was black."
Yeah,
my grandmother told me that Cleopatra was black, and
I don't care what they tell you in school.
And all these anthropologists and archaeologists, all these people were like, "We're supposed to take the word of your grandmother over historical documents that we have here. We have statues of her face. We have
busts and statues, everything."
Yeah, and she did not look African at all. She looked Greek, European to me.
The worst part about this is how the actress reacted to it. Here's a video basically.
No, I mean,
let's listen.
It would be naive of me to say that I didn't expect anything at all, but I didn't expect the scale of it. And I think it's distressing for anybody to receive any level of abuse, let alone the scale and the nature of what I've received, which is fundamentally racist, all of it. But, I think the thing is, people are talking about the wrong things.
Yeah.
yes, we don't know where her mother was from or her paternal grandmother, but also the show is about so much more than the question mark over her race. If you watch it, it's a very small part of the conversation. Really, this is about the fullness of who this woman was, and she was a human being, and she shouldn't be reduced to her race any more than I should or anybody should.
Yeah.
Except that it's a documentary.
Her whole
God.
little interview, that little snippet you showed, upset me. I was getting angry. Because, okay, let's ask the audience this. Let's say they were making a documentary on, let's say, Frederick Douglass. Everybody knows who Frederick Douglass is. Starring, who's the guy that played in Indiana Jones?
Harrison Ford?
Starring Harrison Ford as Frederick Douglass. A documentary.
A documentary.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
The outrage? Or Shaka Zulu. Shaka Zulu was a historical character.
Yeah.
A historical person, a real person. Historical. We're going to redo Shaka Zulu starring,
Tom Hiddleston.
Tom Hiddleston, whoever.
He's a British dude, which would make it even funnier, though.
Yeah, as Shaka Zulu. Just imagine. And then they totally went off script. They made like Shaka Zulu like gay or something. They made him a transgender, whatever. And they just totally changed who he was. You know what I mean? That's just like there's this Broadway play called King George III.
Yeah, and they've made him black as well. Yeah,
black female supposed to be transgender. King George III, a Broadway play.
I still wish I had that up. There was a whole thing of list of characters that have been like blackwashing isn't a thing, and it's like it shows all the characters that have been changed from black, but the only difference is that they changed them. All the redheads are getting replaced by black people.
I saw that.
And then there was and apparently ginger is an anagram for the other one.
Oh.
Yeah, you got it. That was the joke. It's like we're gonna change all these gingers for
my black Negro senses were tingling. Ding ding ding.
Yeah. Why are they replacing all the gingers?
Why did you think that word? But it's the same thing, Here's the problem or the issue. No one has a problem with fictional characters getting changed. Really, I mean, a normal person really doesn't care unless you're just some die-hard comic book fan and you're just like, no. But your average American, as long as the movie's good, as long as they keep to the normal and you know what I mean, don't change it up.
There's a good explanation for that. Is the Green Lantern, right? I grew up with the Black Green Lantern. That is my Green Lantern, right? Like he was the coolest, man. Like that was mine, right? I when I saw like Green Lantern in the comics and he wasn't black, I was like, wait, I thought Green Lantern was black, because that's what I grew up with, as a kid when they had the Justice League going on, and in my teenage years, like that's who my Green Lantern was. It's fine in certain circumstances, like that's one that works. But then at the same time, is like they're trying to shoehorn characters with race changes all the time, and it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, and it's been happening a lot lately. You have Tinkerbell, you have Little Mermaid.
Yep.
I mean, you have
Shaggy.
This movie. You have Shaggy with Thelma. I mean, it's just all these movies, and it's almost to the point to where they're trying to force feed, Afrocentric stuff to people.
Queen Charlotte. That's another one.
Or Queen Charlotte. Well, Queen Charlotte wasn't really a documentary. That was more of like
no, it's a drama, but it's the whole like people complaining of blackwashing, right? And them saying that it's not a thing. It's like, well, when you keep changing a bunch of characters to black characters for the sake of diversity, yes, you're blackwashing, right? It's just as bad as whitewashing. Like
it is.
That I agreed with people with them casting Scarlett Johansson and Ghost in the Shell as being a whitewashing thing. I agreed with that because like it's a Japanese program, like it's set in Japan in the future. Like it would make sense that her character should have been Japanese. I get that, right? But then the argument too was, well, she's an android, so it doesn't really matter, right? It could be anybody. And it's like, okay, I get that argument, but still, like if you changing the race to begin with was bad, and just because it happened historically doesn't mean you should be doing it now too, right? Like we all think this is bad to stop doing it regardless of which race you're swapping, right? If the character is meant specifically for a certain race, leave it at that and make new characters. That's simple as it is.
Yeah, that's right. And what they should have did for this Cleopatra movie was, they should have did a poll, and they're like, "Hey, we're thinking about making this documentary about Cleopatra. She's going to be starred as a black woman." And then you get the results back. And if the results don't work in your favor, you don't make the damn movie. You just don't, because they just wasted a lot of money.
Yep.
And they're gonna lose that lawsuit because
they're
gonna settle. Netflix is gonna settle, but they're gonna have to pull it, and there's probably gonna be some stipulations in there, like you can never show it again. It can't be seen, blah 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 blah. But they shot themselves in the foot with this one.
Yeah, there's a clip I wanted to play here in a second with Piers Morgan and a Egyptian comedian, and he's talking about how he feels about the situation. I'm sure most people have seen this clip at one point, but it really goes to show like the kind of what people think in Egypt, and I think that's the most important thing to talk about in relation to this.
Movie star in the world at the time she played Cleopatra. She was not Egyptian. What's the difference?
Well, first of all, this was Hollywood before it was informed. This is where 1961, when Cleopatra by Elizabeth Taylor, we're not crazy about Elizabeth Taylor playing Cleopatra either. That was also inaccurate. I don't know where do you get the idea that we're happy that she played the role. As a matter of fact, 1961 Cleopatra movie was banned in Egypt and many Arab countries because of Elizabeth Taylor's stance towards the state of Israel, because they supported them. So I don't know where does he get this information. Second of all, this is the same Hollywood that in 1956 they cast John Wayne as Genghis Khan. So this is a time where Hollywood didn't know any better. Now, the problem for me, it's not about color. It's not about white and black. This is a very reductive way to talk about things. This is the way that Americans talk about it. I'm very sorry. Like, I come from Egypt. Egypt has a very diverse color palette. People can look like me or they can look deeper skin tone like Anwar Sadat, who comes from a Nubian origin. It's not about black and white. It's about the continuous culture appropriation and falsification of history that has been done by what the so-called Afrocentrist movement. The Afrocentric movement started the last century as a way, in a good intention, to teach African American about their rich history of West Africa, the great empire of Benin, of Ghana, of Songhali, the great empire of Mali. But the thing is, that's why you find people like Kevin Hart, who subscribes to these theories, who claim that his ancestors built the pyramids. I'm sorry, your ancestors had their own wonderful civilization in West Africa. They are culture appropriating my culture, calling the people of Egypt of today, despite their skin tone, that they call us as invaders, they call us as intruders, and they are being erased from our own history. This is something that Hollywood has done.
Look at his face. Like, look at the guy's face on the right. This is coming from a guy who is from that region. He probably knows more about the history of his country than the guy on the right. And look at his face. He's probably going to say something Afrocentric. Well,
I think it was a she, but I wasn't entirely sure.
That's
so
a he. That's a schman.
Schman. It doesn't matter anyway.
Dude, I know who he is.
Okay, I thought it was a woman.
He's an actress.
All right. Fair enough. But yeah, it's still like I said, it's one of those things. Like I said, it doesn't make sense that we're like that whole thing of like we have to do present discrimination to fix past discrimination, right? Like that's that whole idea coming from freaking what's his face? What was it? Ibram X Kendi. That's what it is. That's right. That guy.
Yep.
Right. He says that we have to discriminate now in order to fix past discrimination, right? So we have to be discriminatory over white people in order to fix things. And now they're not even going after white people. They're now going after Arabs and Egyptians and those in North Africa and saying that your culture is now my culture, or the Black Hebrew Israelites and all of those other people that said is like, or black people are the original Native Americans. That was the other one that's coming about now.
I mean, it's this as a Black American, right?
Yeah.
I'm not one of those people that go around trying to search for anything. You know what I mean? I'm one of those people that live in the now. You know I have a background. I know I have ancestors. I know all of that. But me knowing like where they're from or where they're at or what they did, it's not going to affect what I'm doing every day. But the problem is that a lot of these Afrocentrics, pro-blacks out here don't know, who they are. So they're constantly searching. So if they see a little smidget, they'll look at a picture of a Native American and be like, look at the nose. They're black. I saw one the other day. I don't know if it was satire about the Native Hawaiians. She was going to say, look at their nose. They're black. The Asians, the Chinese, and everybody's black. So they're trying to take all this culture and they're trying to take ownership of it when they didn't help create that culture.
Yeah. And
you know what I mean?
And it's really big in America that this is really happening, but it's also happening in Africa too. There's a big Afrocentric movement happening there as well. So it's not going to lead to anything good, like I've said before, because like it's making the racial divide worse, and it's also creating more racists. Right, we see this every single day, and when I say racist, I don't mean white racists, because those definitely exist. I've seen them, I've heard from them, I know that I've known them, growing up and where I grew up. But here's a big but on that: there are a lot of other people of other races that are just as racist as anybody else you'll meet in your lifetime.
But they will tell you, well, we can't be racist.
Yeah,
we can be prejudiced. And then you look at them like they're stupid, because most of them who say that are stupid. Prejudice and racist are the same thing.
What's their rationale? Is like racism is prejudice plus power or whatever it is.
We only can be prejudiced. No. And then when you pull up the definition of racism, what word is in the definition of racism?
Yeah.
Prejudice. And they're just so stupid. They're reaching, man. They're reaching for any reason to hate someone. So if I stood here and said, Coy, you're this, that, and this, every ad hominem name I can call you, that is bad. And then you turned around and said it to me, you would be the one called racist. Even though the words affected both of us the same, what you said to me affected me, and what I said to you affected you, you would be deemed racist, not me. Yeah. And it just makes no sense. I mean, they just want a reason to hate, and them changing the definitions gives them a reason.
Yeah, it gives them power. It also gives them power.
Yeah, it gives them power because they know, well, ain't nobody going to say nothing to me anyway, because the definition doesn't mean that.
That actually gives a good segue to the next segment, when we're talking about the pregnant nurse in New York and her situation. Is that people have started weaponizing racism for their own benefits, right? So even if it's not actually true, even if you're not actually racist, people will still use it against you. So here's the original video of what it was, and here's the tweet that they said. She tried taking a city bike that was already paid for on his account. They pulled out the white woman's tears when her coworker from the hospital show up. America is this is why we still have a problem. She was totally in the wrong and tried to play the victim. At least that's what they were originally claiming, right? Put on the wrong thing.
Help me! Please help me! This is not your bike. Please help me! This is not your bike. This is not your bike. Please help me! Help! Please get off me! What the fuck is going on, bro? Yo, don't not take it, bro. Now you're not getting the bike, bro. Yeah, now you're not getting the bike, bro. Help! You're not getting the bike. I'm not. Why you took his phone? What's wrong with you? You're not touching his phone. You're not touching his phone. I'm not touching you. You putting your stomach on my head. My dude, stop. No, dude, stop. No. I said no. I said sit down. Please. She's just crying. You're not crying. I got your video. Wait, you pulled it out? Hassan, you pulled it out? Hassan, you pulled it out? This is my bike. It's on my account.
Yeah. So that's the original video.
So, there was a couple issues I've seen, things that bothered me in this video. For one, she was a little over dramatical for me.
Oh, yeah, I know.
It was kind of like her scream for help and everything. I'm not saying what happened to her was right at all. Yeah. But it just seemed like I don't know, it seemed kind of scripted, man. You know, I'm a conspiracy,
I know, right?
You know, I'm a conspiracy theorist, so you know, my mind is always like, it didn't seem like a real reaction. You know what I mean? Because if you're being accosted, right, your reaction is not going to be like, dude, get off me, help. It's not going to be like that. Like if somebody was trying to do that to me, you would see so much emotion in my body language, in the way I'm talking, and everything.
I think it would be a little different, but it does seem kind of meh. But at the same time, it's like,
that's just
I mean, not everybody reacts the same way when under stress. You know what I mean? But I mean, that whole thing of like, towards the end when the dude walks up and she starts like doing the whole crying thing, it's like, yeah, it seems a bit fake. Maybe she's trying to get a little sympathy. Sure, I get that. But at the same time, it's like, why are you guys accosting this woman for a fucking bike? There was tons of other bikes on the rack. Why did you need that specific one?
Yeah.
At the same time, so like, I think the whole situation is stupid.
And the thing is, come to find out that she actually did pay for the bike.
Yeah.
You know, there's receipts to follow, but you know, this story actually. This story actually hit social media big time, believe it or not.
Yep.
All over the place.
This is what they're saying, is that they had receipts showing that she rented it. That's coming from her lawyer, right? And they're already coming out saying that they plan on suing all of the different social media personalities, and also the news that was basically saying how racist this woman was. And it's like, I don't think it had anything to do with racism. I think it had everything to do with freaking punks being punks. That's what it was.
And they were young boys, man. They're probably in their 18. They look young, and just the way they were talking was very, they sounded young. But you know, with the social media personalities getting sued, that's good. That's good. You know,
absolutely.
You got old freaking breakfast pastry out there putting out videos doxing her. And if everybody don't know breakfast pastry, give a big shout out to Misfit Patriot who came up with that name, Dinesh.
Yep.
He was on Dr. Phil too, and he went on his little tirade. Doxed her, brought her husband in it. Her husband had nothing to do with it.
Got her put on administrative leave, basically, from the hospital that she worked at as well. Yeah.
And even after the fact, they found out that she did rent the bike and she had the receipt to back it up. He never came out and said, look, I apologize. What can I do? You know, in typical narcissist form, he didn't care because he did his job. And it's not just him, it's all his goons that go after people too.
Yep.
So, I mean, stuff rolls downhill, man. And you got to be very careful what you say on social media, especially if you're going after someone or attacking someone and you don't know the whole story behind what you're saying, especially something as big as this news article.
Yeah, it's coming up to be, it's going to be Covington 2.0, right? With what they saw Sandman getting the drum beat in his face. Like, he wasn't doing anything, and they were already making, like, he's a punchable face, like, he deserves this and that, and then that he was a racist because he was smirking. It's like, what else are you supposed to do when a dude gets up in your face and starts beating a drum? I mean, come on.
Exactly.
Like, it's the same sort of situation. Like, I don't know. Could she have acted a little differently? Absolutely. She could have been more traumatized and whatnot. Maybe it would have made a difference with the video. I don't know. But it still was, it was some punk kids doing punk kid shit. You know what I mean? Like, they were weaponizing it for clout, and they did something they weren't supposed to be doing. That's all it was, is they were being dicks.
Here's, you know, the wheel's always turning, man. This is why, you know, I'm Michael Harris. I've always been kind of this eccentric type of person on the podcast. But me, like, if that was me in that situation, I would have been calling them little Negroes, get your black ass, get away from here, woogity boogity, and to see if that would have made the news.
Oh, man, I bet it would have.
And no, the reason I'm saying that is I could have been saying every word that is deemed racist and called them that in a video if they tried that with me. It wouldn't even made the news. They would have been like, whatever, it's a bunch of Negroes fighting. But let a white person do it.
This just hood stuff happening, no big deal. Just walk away. That's fine. Normal.
Breaking news. White man calls these little black kids niggly bears. Whatever. Whatever the
God.
news wants to make up, you know what I mean? Whatever they want to make
man.
up. Whatever they want to make up. But you just see how the world is. You know, this lady, I don't know the full story. You know, neither one of us do. We're only getting fed information. She wasn't belligerent. She didn't call them outside their name. She didn't do anything. She was just like, get off me. Help. You know, ask for help.
She just wanted to get home, man. Like, what? She had a long day at work. I don't want to be dealing with this nonsense.
And how is this even a big social media story? But guys like Dinesh and all the little people that follow him, this is huge to them.
Yeah. So the culture war, man.
They literally try to ruin her life, man.
That's what I said. Weaponizing. They're weaponizing the racism card every single time, man. Every single time. But it's just the way that America is. I mean, when you look at how the administration's running things, it's not any different, right? We're all playing in the culture war and the politics, especially when you look at the Durham report. Before we head out of here, we got to look at that. Even CNN had to admit that the Durham report was real, right? Special Counsel John Durham concludes FBI never should have launched a full Trump-Russia probe. Yeah. No effing shit. You know, it's like, how is that a surprise to anybody? Anybody on the right knew that it was all bogus BS just to hamstring Trump's presidency. That's it.
And here's the thing, CNN, we don't forgive you. We don't forgive you. We don't forgive NBC, CBS, all the mainstream media outlets out there, even Fox.
Yep.
Because you guys push this worldwide. You had the world talking about this. Russia collusion. Russia came out and said they didn't collude it. I think Ukraine came out and said that, no, that never happened. And then you guys kept pushing it and people were running with this story. You tried to they tried to impeach him for it. Nothing happened. And then he finally comes out and says it was all bogus.
It was all bunk.
Yeah, this is why you shouldn't trust anything that comes out the mainstream media's mouth. You should not trust it. And this was one of the biggest stories over the last, 4 or 5 years?
Yeah. They were running this every day for years, and even had Adam Schiff saying like, oh, I've got definitive proof that Trump is colluding with the Russians. But here it is in the report itself. Based on the evidence gathered in multiple, exhaustive, and costly federal investigations of these matters, including the instant investigation, neither U.S. law enforcement nor the intelligence community appears to have possessed any actual evidence of collusion in their holdings at the commencement of Crossfire Hurricane investigation. Right? Nobody had anything to begin with, and they all knew it. Every single one of them knew they didn't have anything, right? And that's the thing that annoys me about this whole situation when it comes to the collusion probe, is that they knew they had no information, and then we had Adam Schiff out there every single day saying, hey, look, guys, I've got definitive evidence that Trump campaign was colluding with Russians. Don't mind the fact that Hillary Clinton paid for all of this. Don't mind the fact that the Obama administration knew about this, knew that there was no information there, that none of this was true, but they still pursued it anyway because they wanted to stop Trump.
That's right.
Period.
And the house of cards are going to fall, man. This is only the beginning. You know what I mean? You're going to see a lot more people squeal. You know, all these civilized politicians, you squeeze hard enough, you squeeze one of them hard enough, they're going to talk. And Shifty Eye Shift is going to be the first one to spill the beans. Watch. It's going to be him. He's going to tell it all. Well, I was told when he gets booted out of Congress, because they're already talking about
they're trying to. They're going to try to eject him out of Congress for this, for lying.
Yeah, and he's going to try to do anything to save his name. And then, I don't know, he might wind up.
He might, but this is
better watch out.
The speed and manner in which the FBI opened and investigated Crossfire Hurricane during the presidential election season, based on raw, unanalyzed, and uncorroborated intelligence, also reflected a noticeable departure from how it approached prior matters involving possible attempted foreign election interference plans aimed at the Clinton campaign. So there was obvious evidence that there was issues with the Clinton campaign, and they treated it absolutely differently than what they were doing with the Trump campaign.
Yep.
Because they were in the bag together. They were all a part of the same state. The administrative state is in collusion with the rest of the administrative state people, which includes the Clintons. The Clintons are part of the administrative state. You think she's not running shit behind the scenes right now? You are lying to yourself.
And you said something that I was going to kind of allude to is you see all these investigations going on, right? All over. They're going to investigate this guy. They're going to investigate this and this, that, and this. And you notice like these investigations never go anywhere. It's all like theater, political theater, right? The reason these investigations don't go anywhere is because everyone investigating, the person that they're investigating has something on them. All of them. But
every single one of them.
Yeah, they cannot investigate because that'll throw up a red flag. So they have to investigate. They have to show the American people that they're doing this. But nothing's ever going to come of it because, hey, if you find me guilty, I'm going to put all your business out there. So usually it's just like, we didn't find, then it disappears.
So it's funny because like this is another thing, a good excerpt out of the report. These examples are also markedly different from the FBI's actions with respect to their highly significant intelligence it received from a trusted foreign source, pointing to a Clinton campaign plan to vilify Trump by tying him to Vladimir Putin, so as to divert attention from her own concerns relating to her use of private email servers. I wonder why she would want to do that. I wonder why.
Yeah, she is going to get exposed here very soon.
Absolutely.
Because I think like places like CNN, right? After that town hall, excuse me, CNN really had to rethink how they put out information.
Yep.
I really think CNN is going to go back to the drawing board. And this is just one of the stories that they're going to come out and say, we were wrong. We were wrong. We were wrong. They're going to really try to save face because right now there's a lot of people. They're just like, I don't want and nothing to do with CNN, especially on the left. So now they have to find a way to gain that confidence back. And you know how you gain confidence? This goes out to all the freaking mainstream and all that. Tell the truth. Report the news. Remember when we were kids, Coy? The news was the news.
Right. They gave it to us straight.
On I-10, there was a car accident. And in other news, on the west side of Long Beach, there was, you know what I mean? Now it's like, it's not even news anymore. Climate change.
It's opinions disguised as news. That's what it is. But here's one of the last excerpts I want to bring on this that is really important. Our investigation determined that the Crossfire Hurricane investigators did not and could not corroborate any of the substantial substance allegations contained in the Steele reporting, nor was Steele able to produce corroboration for any of the reports alleging, even after being offered $1 million or more by the FBI for such corroboration. Further, when interviewed by the FBI in January 2017, Deschenko also was unable to corroborate any of the substantive allegations in the reports. Rather, Deschenko characterized the information he provided to Steele as rumor and speculation and the product of casual conversation. So even in the earliest beginning of this whole stupid nonsense, everybody knew it was fake. None of it was real. Everything was, which we all knew. Everybody on the right knew this was bunk BS to begin with. So they impeached the man for things they knew weren't true, right? And we knew it wasn't true from the beginning. That's insane.
And you remember, I always say, man, you'll hear me say all the time, no matter whatever social media platform I'm on, I'm always saying everything is a rich man's trick. And, these people up there, they have the money and the influence to do anything they want. They can tomorrow, they can put out a story, literally, they can put out a story and say Donald Trump was caught with, Russian porn in his basement. And they'll run with it. And people will literally believe it. Then they'll retract it. And even when they retract it and say it's a lie, people are still going to believe it. There are still people on social media that are still saying that the Russian thing is real. No matter, you can tell they're uninformed. they're still like, well, he colluded with Russia. But like, did you guys see the Durham report? You know what I mean? It's just like they've done so much damage. It's too late to come out and admit that you lied. It's too late because the damage is done. They need to be held accountable in other reasons, in other ways. You know, the FCC, whoever needs to jump in and be like, hey, you're done for about a year. You can't do any news. You know what I mean? Something hit them hard. It'll force
actually
companies.
putting out misleading news like that. Like it's insane, man.
They're law.
It's not. It's because they can just it's opinion. It's all opinion. Everything that we say is not news. It's opinion. That's how they've been getting away with slander and defamation suits. Is they say it's all opinion. Like, it's my opinion. It might be a dumb opinion, but it's an opinion, right? So they don't say it's news. They say it's opinion. But that's how they get away with it.
Wasn't there something that Obama changed that said you couldn't put out misleading information? Then Obama got rid of it.
I don't remember, but maybe sure, it's possible. But.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is. Like, do you remember the elevator thing? Trump did something in an elevator. We don't know what it was, but there's a tape apparently of it somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere
in the ether of the world. There's a tape with Donald Trump doing something in an elevator, and we don't know what it is, but we know what happened. It's like, yeah, sure.
Or
I
the
believe
Russian
that.
prostitutes peeing on them. Remember that?
Yeah, the PP prostitutes. Yeah,
and people believed it. People believed it.
There are people that still believe it.
Oh,
that's how insane the world is.
That's how lost the world is. Just
it's tiring. That's why I want to always start the show with the fun stuff, because the world is tiring, and I have to have a little bit of sunshine, and sharing fun things with you fine folks is the way to get through the day. But that's going to be it for us tonight. We will be back tomorrow night at the Savage Patriots at 5:30. No, it's 5:30 Central, but it's 6:30 Eastern time as well. And we'll be there Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Oh, okay. Definitely is true. The honestly can't. What was it? Honestly, can't we say the same thing about what's written in the history books? Who thinks who is in control of them? Yep, that's true.
Yep,
I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
That's true. Yep, history books definitely are written by the victors. It's not always what is accurate and actually happened. To do that, you have to look at history subjectively, or objectively yourself, in order to understand what the actual truth is. But
that's why
anyway,
says question everything.
Yes, definitely question everything. Anyway, we'll be back, like I said, tomorrow night. Savage Patriots. We'll see you all guys there. We love you, America, and we're out.